Hi.
Hey. Scott Adams went live when the news of Charlie Kirk getting shot hit, and yeah, all he did was say, "I have nothing to say here. I'm just here to be with you." That's like kind of the only thing I feel like you can say is, yeah, just yeah.
Okay. Yet another guy. I never met Charlie Kirk. But many common acquaintances. And if you don't feel sick about this, and are crying about it, I don't ever want to work with you. So, so I don't know. All right. All right, let's start here. So I just got up. Yeah, because this is what it's really about. Okay. I just got off the phone with my son. My son is entering this world. He works for a think tank. In this world. I will fucking not say anything more about that, but he was just at a conference where some TPUSA people were. He's in this world. He's entering. He's just started. A year ago, he got hired to do this work with a whole lot of ambivalence from me, because I know what it means. Well, I know a lot more today about what it means. To get on stage and say things that are politically controversial. I've done it for decades, of course. It's funny, my son is like me when I was starting out at his age. It's people don't believe this, but it's true. I was mortified about speaking in public. But I managed to push through and I got comfortable with it. And eventually I became this guy who's, until today, very comfortable and even happy on stage talking about politics and saying things that are so controversial and make people mad. I've always known that what I would say would make at least half the population furious at me. And I have certainly had in my mind, including even recently, some fears about some crazy person showing up who thought something about me or about what I think. And shooting me through the neck. So yeah. So for every person who has ever stood on stage and said things about politics that many, many people hate, which is everybody I know. That's every friend of mine. That is everybody I respect. That is what I do. It's what I've always done. I never encouraged my son to do it because I knew how terrible it could be, meaning you can get called horrible names all day long, day after day after day. But now I said to him, I know you want to eventually get past your fear about public speaking, which I did. And I don't want to ever tell you not to speak your mind in public. But I said, please don't. Please don't. Please don't ever speak on stage. So that, if he follows my advice, that's I will keep him safe. But for everyone who has ever dared to say unpopular, controversial things in public on stage, this is the worst day. And it's the worst day because of one basic fact, which is that we all know we've had many, many politicians assassinated, heads of state, commanders in chief of the largest military in the world that were engaged in wars that were killing people all over the world. There have been, of course, many political activists who have been assassinated as well. We have never had a national political journalist or public intellectual be assassinated in this country. There have been 3 or 4 local journalists who were killed by like the local gangs and mafia because they were exposing the local criminal networks. Never have we had a national political intellectual, which is what Charlie Kirk absolutely was. Even though he was an activist, even though he was an advocate for very particular political parties and candidates, etc., he was also absolutely an intellectual. And he did so really fearlessly. He didn't know maybe how fearless he was, but he was
almost naively.
Even when the threat was perceived by all of us just to be, oh, you're going to get shouted down and ostracized and called a Nazi by a bunch of 19-year-olds. Even that's not fun. It's a huge price to pay. And he did it over and over and over again. And he was very famously, publicly, and everybody can see this. In fact, not willing. All he wanted to do was to debate, to talk, to engage. I mean, a few months ago, he debated the governor of California on the governor of California's own podcast, and handed his ass to him, by the way. And so, do I need to say that I thought Charlie's positions on Israel and deportations were horrific and terrible and gross? And who cares? What?
But he was also open to debate and evolving on those issues. At least in the last few months, he's been evolving on Israel, and he's really been
right. Right.
He's been,
and he did change, which I've changed radically my ideas. And again,
he's
yet
also
another.
so young too. He's so young. Like it's
hard to talk about that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't killed journalists. Assassinations of political journalists, of public intellectuals. So I hope people understand why even though I didn't know him personally. This is the worst thing it could do to me. Charlie Kirk, and I want everybody who is on the left to listen to this. But I mean, conservatives and right-wingers and fascists and whoever you are, I also want you to listen to this too, but most certainly I want the left to listen to this. Charlie Kirk was not an agent of the state. If you shoot an ICE agent coming to deport you, I'm cool with that. It's understandable. It's self-defense. If you are a resident of one of the many, many countries that the United States has invaded, conquered, shot up, and bombed, and you decide to shoot back at an American soldier or an American political official, I'm super cool with that. Those are acts of self-defense. Charlie Kirk was not an agent of the state. He did not deport anybody. He did not kill any children in Gaza. He was a journalist, yes, with a very strong point of view and preference and bias, just like me, just like you, just like everybody who does this work. He's the first national political journalist to be assassinated in the United States for having and espousing particular political ideas. So yeah, Charlie Kirk, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, here's Charlie Kirk. He invited, and like, am I a simp for Charlie Kirk? Yeah, I am, and I always have been. About 3 years ago, you can look it up. I forget when about 3 years ago, something like that, maybe 4 years ago. He invited. He went out of his way. This is when he's a big star. TPUSA is happening. He's got all this money. What did he do? He invited my friend your friend Ben Burgess, to debate him on his own show about Marxism. Ben is an expert on Marxism, and he is a Marxist, and he's a super brilliant PhD philosophy professor who crushes people in debates, and Charlie knew this, and yet Charlie was like, yeah, let's go. Now, I texted Ben immediately after and said, you wiped the floor with Charlie Kirk, but my God, is that not no ad hominems from Charlie Kirk toward Ben, no cheap shots at all. He just didn't know the history of Marxism as well as Ben did. He didn't know the history of, he hadn't read Hegel, but it sort of pretended to know Hegel a little bit, and I kind of mocked him about that, but my God, I would never, I mean, that is what I am about. That is what I am about. That is what I have always been about. I want the free, open, and if need be, antagonistic exchange of ideas. Publicly, often, always, constantly, but done in a respectful, civil way, which he always did. So I don't know, just like seeing someone get shot in the neck and die. who does the things you do, whose attitude about ideas and politics are fundamentally at base the same as mine. I'm not a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm against most of his policies, as people know. I disagreed with Charlie Kirk probably 50% of the time, but when I disagreed with him, I disagreed with him profoundly, strongly. So there's that. I put this on Twitter, and people from that will know how bad, I guess is the word, my family history is. But I thought immediately about my mother, and I've said this here many times. I've said this to our subscribers in the after show and other places many times. My mother, it's important for people to know this. My mother, she's 85 years old. She has been a leftist of some kind or another her entire adult life. She started out as a hardcore Marxist, socialist, revolutionary, and I mean hardcore, and then kind of softened into like a Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, every single night, watches MSNBC. Bernie Sanders, kind of typical American left liberal. She has many, many times, and she takes a lot of joy in this. It's a lot of fun for her, especially when she's at a glass or two of wine. But even if not, I've heard her say this totally sober. She's many times she said, "I just want to shoot Republicans." She said specifically about Trump, "I want to put a bullet in his head." Is my mother unusual among the American left in having those feelings? No. If you have known anybody who is...
Go on Facebook right now. Go on Facebook, go on Blue Sky, go on Reddit right now.
But those are the sort of most hardcore, loudest, nastiest.
Yeah, but with Facebook, it's people who you actually personally know and see
right.
on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And they feel comfortable saying that behind their real face.
What I'm saying is grandmothers have this feeling if they're Democrats, if they're liberals, if they're lefties. And I've said this for years and years and years, and I have warned about it, and I have yelled at the left about it, and I've tried to engage with them about this. And the right wing in this country generally does not have those feelings. I know both sides super well. I was born and raised in one side, and then I kind of was adopted by the other side for a long time. And I know both sides. They don't. Conservatives and right wingers, they can be really nasty and vicious in certain ways, but not in that way. They don't do that. They don't demonize their political opponents, and they don't wish for their death. I just simply haven't seen that or heard that, except for like the fringes of the alt-right on Twitter. But I mean, like real political journalists, etc., and thinkers on the right don't do that thing. And this is something that has to be addressed. I've been begging for everyone to address it for years and years and years. The left, and this is the history that needs to be written. I feel like I might be the one to write it. No one has written this. What is the psychological history of the American left that has produced this thinking? What is the lineage? What is the train? The
starting with John Brown.
Bingo. Nice. Yes. Right. Yes. John Brown was Yes. John Brown was the original left-wing assassin. It's how he made his bones. It's how he made his name. It was his cause, was to go right across the country on horseback from Connecticut all the way to Kansas, and then not just kill the so-called pro-slavery activists in Kansas, but to behead them, dismember them, in front of their families
And
with
kill the
his
slaves that
sons.
got in his way.
Killed everybody who got in his way, but did so in especially horrific ways. He was an absolute terrorist. And he, to this day, is the original martyr, the original hero, the original model for every American left-wing movement, tendency, party I've ever known about. Well, we should start there. You're right. We should maybe do something on John Brown. And it continued from then, from the 1850s forward. The American left, as it started to emerge as a thing in America, embraced one act of political violence after another. I mean, there were the anarchists of the turn of the 20th century who carried out multiple attempted assassinations and actual assassinations. Bombings. There's still to this day scars in Wall Street from the bombings of anarchists in that period. And then, sure, I mean, the Communist Party, the socialist movements of the 20th century, the Marxist movements were all very clear that this is a revolution. The enemy is the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, the state, and they kill, they murder, they conquer, they are ruthless, they are merciless, they are humanity's oppressor. And I generally agree with that analysis. But from there, they went to a place that I couldn't go to. And this is one of the many reasons I left the left. That means those people, which wasn't just Adolf Hitler, it was Adolf Hitler, and then it was the Republican Party in America.
Yeah, Coca-Cola and capitalism,
and then capitalists.
Yeah,
right. CEOs was a thing, and we found this. A CEO was assassinated not long ago, right? Those people they're not people. They're not people. Now, again, I want to say, as an anarchist, but you don't have to be an anarchist, as someone who just finds the government, the state, to have illegitimate claims over your body. When the state comes knocking on your door, trying to put you in prison or deport you or kill you or take your property, it may not be strategically wise to shoot back, but ethically, great. Blast them if they are actually agents of the state. Charlie Kirk was not an agent of the state. Now, if he had volunteered to go assist the IDF in its murder campaigns in Gaza and put on a U.S. Army uniform to do so, or if he had volunteered to be an ICE agent and was kidnapping 50-year-old guys at a Home Depot and sending them to Uganda, then we can have a different discussion. And I am not crying about Charlie Kirk getting shot. I'm not. And I might even be happy about it, because that's war and that's self-defense. That's the state acting with all of its monopoly of power and violence and force on basically defenseless civilians. I'm cool. I don't think it might end up bad for you strategically, but ethically or morally, I don't like to talk about morals, but ethically, yeah, in principle, I have zero problem with that. Just like I have zero problem with the Edelweiss pirates in Nazi Germany, German teenagers who were into jazz and hated Nazism and hated authoritarianism, who fought the Gestapo and the Hitler Youth in the streets. 8 of them were hanged to death in this middle of Berlin, downtown Berlin, eventually, but they killed a bunch of SS officers and Nazi officials along the way. Do we think that was uncool? No, we think that was awesome. And they're my greatest heroes. Oh, no. So I guess those are my major political points I want to make about this. There's more to say, but I want to hear what you have to say. Because Charlie Kirk was, I think, 3 years older than you.
Yeah, 3 years older than me. Yeah. And he kind of feels like one of us, like somebody from like a politically interested, ambitious, precocious young man who has been, as long as I've been in college, at least, like he's been the guy. He's been the guy who just shows up to college campuses and has an open, respectful debate about the issues. Like, he's really the only game in town if you want to have a debate. Like, not even a Republican debate, but just any debate at all. Like, if you want somebody at your college campus, like, that's what he was doing today, by the way. Most of the mic time was given to people who disagreed with him. He's like, if you disagree with me, front of the line, I want to hear you. Like,
what were the words over on the tent that he was speaking under, which were the same tent he's been using for years? What were the words, everybody? Prove me wrong. Was he there to be didactic? Was he there, as giving a propaganda speech? Was there propaganda in what he said? Okay, maybe, sure. But he was there, and that was his whole shtick, his whole brand, his whole thing was to go wade into these campuses and then say publicly to all of them, I will debate anybody here, which included, by the way, interestingly, all the professors on those campuses, yet not a single professor ever debated Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
They couldn't walk out of their little office up. The political science department couldn't bother to walk downstairs onto the quad to debate little Charlie Kirk, who did not, by the way, go to college. Charlie Kirk didn't go to college, everybody, but he decided at the age of 20, 21 to wade into those colleges and debate everybody there. And by the way, from my perspective, he almost always won. Always won.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say he always won. He was always a tremendous force intellectually and always super principled and did not use ad hominem arguments. Mm-hmm. I never heard him. Did I ever hear him make an ad hominem argument against his opponent? I don't think so.
Yeah. And I was DMing with a fan of the show who's on the after show recently, and it came to mind that I wanted to talk about this in the context of, what it means for America and what it means for our political discourse. But he was basically the last liberal. He's like, you just killed the last person who believes in free and open dialogue and the ideals that this is how you solve your problems is by talking them out. And Republicans have no choice but to radicalize in response to this. And Democrats are not showing their humanity in this moment. They're not waiting till his body is buried to make it about politics. House Democrats were interrupting the moment of silence they were trying to have on the floor for him. Like, you can, again, look on Facebook, look on Blue Sky, look on Reddit, watch your favorite liberal streamer, Destiny or whoever. I don't want to name names too much today, but they're out there, and it's very obvious that they don't see that this is, just the most awful assassination that is nothing but poison to our civilization and our society. And they can't. I don't know. I don't think they understand that they're playing with fire here. I don't think they understand how dangerous things can get, and that we might be looking on the barrel of Spain in the 1930s if this is allowed to continue. If I think maybe people have had it too good.
Well, okay. So about that, like, what's going to come next? Let's talk about that, because that's maybe the most important thing to talk about. So Spain in the 1930s, I mean, you had an ascendant Nazi regime next door in Germany. You had a consolidating communist regime in the Soviet Union, not too far away. And then within Spain itself, you had Nazis or fascists aligned with the Nazi party in Germany. You had communists, a lot of communists aligned with the Soviet Union. Then you had all sorts of nationalists who didn't want any part of any of that. Then you had anarchists. Then you had all sorts of maybe some classical liberals in there. And you had no social media. You had newspapers and pamphlets and books. And that's how people organized. That's how people organized their ideas. That's how people came to ideas. Then you had the United States, Great Britain, France, the great Western powers also involved in the Spanish Civil War, which was a revolution. The way that politics was done before 2000 was that you would hear about something in the newspaper or in a pamphlet, maybe a phone call from some activist you knew. I used to be a part of this world. And it was all about going outside, going into the streets, marching, protesting, sometimes rioting, sometimes fighting the cops, but usually just going out into the street, going outside in large numbers, meeting together at City Hall, the Federal Building, on the Bay Bridge, on the Brooklyn Bridge, whatever. But that's what politics was. Radical politics was. So now, of course, it's very different. Most people conduct radical, revolutionary, militant, subversive, dangerous politics of the left and the right this way. From their living room, from their bedroom, via computer, via laptop, onto the internet. And most of them literally don't ever walk outside. So I think that politics generally, and this, by the way, goes for the war state. Have we noticed that since Obama, that the United States has completely shifted its strategy or its tactics or its approach to military engagement from sending in the 82nd Airborne, sending in the 101st Airborne, sending in the Marines, sending in the Special Ops, to drone strikes that are operated by a guy sitting in a bunker underground in Utah, or airstrikes from 30,000 feet, like in Iran recently. We drop bombs 30, what was that? 30, 40,000. What do the B-2s fly at, like a super high level, whatever, very far away, remote controlled, remote warfare. Special ops is the most direct engagement we have now. But those guys too, they fly in, they come in on a helicopter, they come down on ropes at 4 a.m. They kick down your door, they shoot everybody in the house, and then they leave. Not exactly how we used to engage in warfare, which was to send thousands and thousands of young men into battle on battlefields with rifles, marching across fields, getting mowed down, yada, yada. So, do I think that there will be a civil war in this country because of this? Yes, but it's going to be an entirely different kind of civil war, I'm pretty sure. The tactics of Israel, I think, are instructive. I think they're quite a model for a lot of people. What has been the primary tactic of Israel over the last 80 years in dealing with its enemies? Assassination. A whole book has been written about this by Ronan Bergman. What's it called? Wake Up and Kill? It's something like that. It's a paraphrase. But it's like that. And he shows that since the and he's an Israeli, pro-Israel Zionist guy, establishment guy. Since the founding of Israel, but even before then, that's what they've relied on, is assassinating the leaders of the PLO. Well, originally it was the leaders of the British government, the colonial government in Palestine that they assassinated. But then they moved to the Palestinian leadership. They assassinated PLO leaders. It's amazing they never killed Arafat. Then when Hamas and the Islamists emerged as the leaders, or the main leaders in the Palestine resistance, and in the late 80s, they started just assassinating them right and left. And then, of course, recently we've seen this because they simply can't, there's nothing else they can do. They can't kill all the Palestinians and get away with it because of public opinion. They will lose their funding and their support from the US if they did that, which, by the way, is the only reason they haven't done that. That's the only reason they haven't committed actual genocide. But anyway, assassination in Iran among Hamas just now, today, they just bombed did you know that Israel bombed the presidential palace in Yemen today? And they killed, with the help, by the way, of Trump, yesterday or 2 days ago, the entire or most of the Hamas leadership in Doha. Trump pretty clearly helped orchestrate that meeting in which the US probably was promising a ceasefire deal, and the US invited them to this building in Doha, and then Israel dropped a bomb on that building. But anyway, so assassination seems to be the default mode of conducting warfare in the 21st century. And so what I think will happen is not that there will be thousands of people in the streets and there will be mass shootouts between MAGA dudes in red, white, and blue and trucker hats shooting, a bunch of black people wearing Kamala Harris shirts. No, it's going to be this. It's going to be this. It's going to be, I think, more assassinations, more what they call targeted killings. There might also be, different kinds of assassinations, economic assassinations. There might be, I'm sure there will be.
Well, the left
psyops.
is going to do assassinations. The left is going to do assassinations.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah,
the thing is,
most likely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The right has power right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in the midterms they're going to get more power. And so it's up to the right now, because with this and the stabbing of Iryna on the light rail in North Carolina, the right has been radicalizing. The right has run out of patience. The right wants blood. And it is up to Donald Trump to use the legitimate monopoly on violence that is the state to make people feel safe again and make people feel like they have a civilization again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might get an actual right-wing backlash.
So today, I don't think I've said this here yet, did I? No, I haven't. Chris Rufo, mm-hmm. who, very, very prominent and influential, whatever you want to call it, right-wing or conservative journalist and public intellectual, which he totally is, works for the Manhattan Institute. People know who I'm talking about. Today he tweeted that we need to do what J. Edgar Hoover did in the 60s. He said, well, he didn't specify because he probably doesn't know the history, but from, J. Edgar Hoover from the beginning of the FBI in the 1910s through the 70s was sending in agent provocateurs, infiltrators, spies, producing bogus evidence like that MLK, what was the latest thing that they tried to pretend happened? He gang raped multiple women. I mean, it was all made up shit by J. Edgar Hoover, who had like a particular obsession with the left in this country, some of which was justified. But I mean, they also did the same thing to the Klan and the Nazi Party in the United States too. The FBI, people forget about this. They don't talk about this, but there was almost as much energy and resources put into infiltrating and destroying and setting up the Klan and the Nazis in the 60s and 70s by J. Edgar Hoover's FBI as there was against the Black Panthers and the Communist Party.
Yeah.
Chris Rufo is saying we need to do that again because clearly we have enemies within, and I've heard enemies within many times today. That is when you need to either go hide or reach for your revolver.
Here's some things. Here's some steps.
Yeah. Okay.
FCC takes away the license of MSNBC.
Why? Why? Michael.
Yeah.
Michael. Mm-hmm. You don't want to hear what they have to say?
I think it's. I feel responsible. I feel like I can hear what they have to say, but I don't want anybody, which is the majority of their audience. And here's another thing about the shooter. The shooter might have been like Ryan Routh, an older person. This might have been an older radicalized boomer shooter. It's unclear now. We don't know who this person is, but some earlier suspects looked like this was a boomer.
No. Okay. You don't know the latest?
We don't know the latest. No, I don't know.
No, let me tell you. I'll tell you the latest. Yeah. I don't think you know. So the old guy who was arrested turns out was not.
Turns out
the shooter.
Yeah.
You've seen the videos of the sniper on the roof?
No. I mean, I've seen
there's videos of a guy who looks a whole lot like a sniper on the roof.
Yeah.
200 yards away.
That's another thing. This is a professional shot. This is a perfect, well executed. This isn't a lone gunman crazy person. Also, this is somebody who knows exactly what they were doing. And
right. So you've known you live in Bloomington, Indiana. You've been around liberals and leftists.
Yeah.
I've been around them my entire life. Not one of them has ever shot a gun, much less been able to use a sniper rifle from 200 yards away to hit a target in the neck.
Yeah. There are some funny liberal gun owners here in Indiana. It's an anomaly here in Indiana. It's really funny, but maybe the Democrat point definitely stands. Your point definitely stands.
It definitely does. Now, I'm not saying there's no liberal who knows how to shoot a sniper rifle, but I'm saying there's very, very few of them.
Now,
very few of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Very few.
Yeah.
Can you learn to shoot a sniper rifle? Yes, I know. I've heard this. Yes. I mean, at RU, Texas, a few years ago, we'd had that. And actually, we went to a gun range at the end of the event, and there was a big ass sniper rifle there, and a bunch of people used it and worked on it. So sure, you could, but again, that was a conference of like right wingers and libertarians for the most part. So they were happy to use guns and thrilled about it. But man, liberals, and my heart is liberal in this way, they hate guns and they don't want to use them, and they think it's a right wing thing to do so.
Yeah, they see them as talismans of evil. They see them as cursed.
And so I'm sorry. I mean, I was kind of hoping it was like a deranged boomer guy, and I thought it was, who just watched Rachel Maddow too much, like my mother did. I thought he was just like my mother, except with an actual gun.
Well,
and the ability to shoot, but apparently no. And so let the conspiracy theories begin.
This is if in the conspiracy theory realm, you said he's not an agent of the state, but people have been paying attention to him recently and seeing his trajectory and seeing how he's been on the in with Trump for a while.
Sure.
I've done the math and like, he'll be older than 35 by 2028. And there's a lot of talk of him being a Vance VP or a serious,
sure.
He's definitely a very ascendant, promising figure for the right. And he's one of the most important political organizers, period.
So today, all of the right-wing commentators on this have been saying that he was principally or largely responsible for Trump's victory by organizing the youth vote, which he did. I mean, spectacularly well. I mean, I hated a lot of what he said when he was doing that, but I mean, I think that's right. And so, sure. I mean, okay. But I mean, I have advocated for all kinds of political positions should we shoot me? I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that there might be some higher up forces here at play that see him as a serious threat, in that Democrats, the liberal order, the deep state is like they're under attack. Like they're out of power temporarily. Like they're kind of clasping at straws here. Did you see Rudy Giuliani the other week got into that car accident? Rudy Giuliani was in a very suspicious car accident that seemed potentially like an attempt on his life. And I think that's the atmosphere here, is to go after close Trump associates.
Sure.
And to go after the network of power in whatever way, because there's no other way to take this thing down at this point other than to literally take it out. Like, you know, when Ukraine looked like knew they were going to lose the war, what did they do? They turned to assassinations. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Again, the history of the left, it's right. What you hear from right wingers and conservatives about the left and violence is right.
Oh,
is completely correct.
We talked about John Brown.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, it's not even a new development or something that they learned along the way. As you just pointed out brilliantly. Yeah, it began with fucking John Brown in the 1850s
for the U.S., but
in this country,
the Jacobins, right. The Bolsheviks. Read up on.
So the Jacobins invented the thing. They invented left-wing politics. This is not even, I don't think it's controversial. Before Marx, even, I mean, what is the main socialist magazine in America called? Jacobin. Yeah, they invented it, and they were we know this. We know what the French Revolution was largely about. You know, it was about killing the oppressors, killing the upper class, killing the clergy, killing the rich, killing the aristocracy.
And in public schools today, it's taught as something that had great, wonderful democratic ideals. That's the foundation for things like the UN. This is what you're taught, that a lot of great democratic ideals came out of this. Liberty, fraternity, egalitarianism all came out of this. But unfortunately, it got a little carried away there at the end. But you know what? They smoothed that out. Like, that's how this is taught.
Michael, the problem is that some people don't want liberty and fraternity and egalite. So we have to kill them. Is precisely the argument made in Rousseau, precisely the argument made by the Jacobins, and precisely the argument made by every left-wing activist for the last 250 years. Every one of them. By the way, in every country too. You can go look at the Marxist groups in Africa. Go look at the pan-Latin nationalist groups in Latin America. Shit, like the Japanese Communist Party was assassinating people all over the place in the 1970s. This is a part of left-wing, I was going to say ideology, but psychology. I was trained into it. I remember feeling like, oh yeah, well, like the enemies of the working class, like they're evil and they need to be done away with. It's amazing that Christians, and here you go, Michael, like I don't see that, at least among American Christians these days. I think there have been Christians in the past who have taken that attitude about, you know, those who are evil must be eliminated. Yeah. But you don't see it nowadays. And you don't see it in conservatives. You don't see it among right wingers, Republicans. I just don't. The worst I've seen is like lock her up, put Hillary in prison. They've certainly asked for, demanded putting many of their political opponents in prison.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say foreign enemies. Sure, they've called for the death of them, but that's still different than domestic enemies and our attitudes toward them, especially when they are simply just talking. Yeah. Like Charlie Kirk was.
Yeah. Yeah. The death penalty is being floated around this issue. Just something that I think is gravely serious and needs to be brought attention to. Both this and the subway case in North Carolina. But the Utah governor brought it up today. He said, yeah, we do have the death penalty in this state. Just a reminder. The suspect is still at large, and we have the death penalty. And that was the fate of John Brown. And
he got the death penalty, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm religiously against it, but I can see the function that it plays. And I can see the function of, and I can see that there's a debate for it. I can see how people would argue for it at this time. Like, established order, this is completely unacceptable. We know exactly what happened here. This is completely unacceptable. This cannot be allowed to continue. This was totally 100% senseless. We are at war, and we have to take out the threat. Like,
well, okay. I mean, I actually I've changed very recently on the death penalty. I don't, if someone admits to the crime, and the evidence is overwhelming, and there is zero disagreement, including among the accused, why spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on keeping them alive in a prison? People who are serial killers, serial rapists, serial pederasts, people who can't control, that's what they do, that's what they need to do. They want to kill and rape. I don't even think that's evil. I just want them gone. Right? We all just want them gone. I don't need to torture
the thing
them.
Is,
but I want them gone.
Yeah.
So why would we want to keep them in a prison for 50 years?
Yeah. And if the left gets into power, the people who perpetuate left-wing violence have a history of being excused, having their sentences commuted. Especially, if you think of, what was it, the Puerto Rico DC bombers and Bill Ayers and the 70s. A lot of those people from the 70s got away with some pretty awful stuff. Angela Davis, if you think about it,
they're all professors now. They're all professors with chairs. They have endowed chairs. Bill Ayers, Angela Davis has the fanciest endowed chair at UC Santa Cruz. Yeah, I mean, Bill Ayers was at the University of Chicago, I think. Wasn't he at Chicago? That's how he met Obama, right? Yeah. So
if the Rosenbergs weren't executed, they would have been professors, man. If the Rosenbergs weren't executed, they'd have tenure.
Well, actually, what's funny is their children are.
Yeah.
The Miraples, that's their actual name. The Rosenbergs, the real name is Miraple, or their kids changed their name to Miracle. Michael, and there's a couple of them, and I've met a couple of them. They're they're academics, of course. What else would they be? And they've been denying that their parents were agents of the Soviet Union forever. So, we got a short show tonight. I got to go, but I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we had such a very large audience for this, I guess. I guess people like watching me cry, but I think it's good to cry. And if you haven't cried for Charlie Kirk and what it means today, I'm not sure I want to work with you. I'm not sure I want to associate with you. I mean, I feel the same way about you, that person, not you, Michael, but that person who doesn't feel anything or even likes what happened. The same way I feel about the people who call for, airstrikes on Gaza. Okay. I think you're over there and I'm over here and I want nothing to do with you. And you're basically the enemy. I'm not going to try to kill you, but I'm not interested in cooperating with anybody who has that opinion, that set of feelings. Yeah. If you haven't been walking around for the last 5 hours with a sick stomach and tears in your eyes, and I'm good, as the kids say, with you. So the left needs to, it's not going to happen, but I would like for the left to take a good look at itself on this issue.
Well,
why is it that you guys have the not only, here it is, not only the moral high ground, but the mortal high ground? Your ground is so high, you feel like you can kill people from it. You're so high, you're so above everyone else, and you know for sure that that person and those people and that person are evil, that offing them by shooting them through the neck or by any means necessary, as they like to say, is not just justified, Michael, it's necessary. We have to kill fascists. Woody Guthrie, the fucking Communist Party activist who the left loves, on his guitar, and they love this, his guitar said, this machine kills fascists. Okay, so if you're talking about Nazi party officials, which he actually wasn't, he was talking about Germans, fine. If you're talking about government official heads of state, the guys who control all the guns, I'm cool. I mean, in principle, I'm cool. It may not be wise. It might strategically be disastrous, but like ethically, fine. I got no problem with killing the people with the monopoly on violence who use it against you. That's simply an act of self-defense. And it's the only real defense we have against tyranny. But yeah, Charlie Kirk was not that.
Well,
yeah.
Oh. This has radicalized me to become very pro-state.
Oh, good.
In that I hope that the state uses legitimate
acts of violence. That's what happens.
To keep us safe from the vigilantes who inflict violence outside of the state.
That's what happens.
Predictable, understandable violence on people who I know are violent and threats. I don't want somebody just talking on a stage murdered. And I want the person who did that to face actual physical consequences for murdering somebody. I want everything that led to that. I want that taken care of.
Okay. I'm going to finish on this historical note, given your amazing provocation there. Let's think about, and again, correlation is not causation, but my God, the correlation needs to be studied right now, doesn't it? Let's think about this. Abraham Lincoln, assassinated. What came immediately after that assassination? Reconstruction, which was an imperialist, colonial, authoritarian, military rule of a foreign country in which they killed hundreds of thousands of people and re-educated the population and remade the society, yada, yada. McKinley, turn of the 20th century, assassinated. What followed that? The Progressive Era. Am I saying that the Progressive Era happened because of the assassination of McKinley? No.
You don't get that Teddy Roosevelt without it, though, for sure.
And Teddy,
you don't get
took a shot at him too, and so that certainly helped a great deal in the progressives instituting the most authoritarian, one might say totalitarian regime America had ever seen at that point. Right? And then we have the 1960s, the great era of assassinations, right? Well, what else happened in the 1960s? In part because of those assassinations, we had the escalation of everything we now hate. The state, the federal state, the welfare state, the warfare state grew exponentially in part in response to those assassinations. The surveillance state, all of it, the militarization of the cops, all of it. It certainly helped. The assassinations of JFK, MLK, even Malcolm X, and RFK, the rhetoric around those things all contributed directly to the enhancement of the authoritarian warfare state. And guess what we're about to see now? You think Trump is not going to direct the FBI to go hog wild on this, like Chris Rufo asked for? You think Trump is not going to want to shoot everybody who looks funny now? Do you think Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are not going to take this as the opportunity of a lifetime to fucking crush our civil liberties? Yeah. So, again, I'd be amazed if an actual socialist or communist shot that shot today, because they don't shoot. But whoever did it had something in mind,
Well,
I think, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to get what they wanted.
Yeah. Could have been a hired hitman too. It could have been somebody with a lot of money. I don't know, but I don't want to speculate on that. But yeah.
But Charlie Kirk, he was one of us.
Yeah.
And whether you're a leftist or a rightist, and I know a lot of the gray zone people will agree with me on this, and a lot of people I have on my show who are socialists and even communists will agree with me on this, because that's who I have on my show. He was one of us. He was a dissident. Yes, at the very end of his life, he was allied with the guy who held power, for sure. But until then, he was a dissident. He was an opponent of the establishment. He was a critic of the establishment. He was a public intellectual who, unlike anybody else, including me, including all sorts of people who love to debate, who literally walked into the lion's den every single day as his job to debate anybody he could find. And he did so always, I think, in a civil manner.
Yeah, an absolute model of stability. Absolute model of, yeah.
He was just a good intellectual when he did that. He was. And I've watched him for many, many, many hours. I mean, yeah, Charlie Kirk was one of us. So this is a terrible tragedy for all of us who like to call ourselves free thinkers. And if the left does not come out and denounce this and condemn this with actual feeling, it'll be yet another reason for all of us to denounce the left. Anyway. All right, man.
Are we doing an after show?
We are not.
Okay.
I sent out the announcement. We're going to do the after show next week. I apologize. It wasn't just this. I had another issue today come up. Nothing to worry about, but it was just a thing. But yeah. We'll see everybody next week. I apologize for that, but thank everybody. Really huge audience. Fantastic. Thank you all for watching. I hope it was useful, edifying, or at least cathartic. And I'm glad we did it. And thank you, Michael. You were awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. You just got to be here for this. Yeah. All right. I'm going to play us out with Charlie Kirk. Just wearing an ice cap. I'm sorry, but somebody's coming up to him and asking him,
"Hey." He had to buy it though. He had to buy it. He wasn't an agent. Yes.
Yeah.
Good. All right, man. Peace.
Yeah. I'll play us out. Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Thanks.
Peace.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assault, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.